Is a Prime Mike Tyson a myth? To answer this question, you first have to define what a Prime Tyson was. It is widely and correctly believed this time was during his first reign as heavyweight champion during the years of 1986, 87, and 88, when Kevin Rooney was his trainer. Mike Tyson blazed through the heavyweight ranks and amassed a record of 27-0 with 25 knockouts before challenging Trevor Berbick in 1986 for Berbick's WBC belt. In less than 2 rounds, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion ever at the age of 20. Within 10 months, he won the other 2 belts and became the first unified champion in more than 9 years. Mike had 8 title fights under Rooney, and after his 91-second destruction of Michael Spinks was at the peak of his powers. His record stood at 35-0 with 31 knockouts. Shortly afterwards, he fired Rooney. He would go on to defend his title 2 more times before losing in the biggest upset in boxing history. This was just 18 months after splitting with his longtime trainer. Some are critical of Mike's competition, but all anyone can do is fight the best of their time. During this period, he beat 3 current world champions, 5 former ones, an Olympic gold medalist. 2 of those wins were against all-time greats, Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks. His 4-round knockout over Holmes is often overlooked because Larry was at a ripe age of 38. Still, 4 years later, at the age of 42, Larry beat Ray Mercer and went the full 12 rounds with Evander Holyfield before dropping a decision in a surprisingly competitive fight. The blowout of Spinks is often discredited because he was a blown-up light heavyweight that was terrified, but in truth, Michael was an undefeated champion with a record of 31-0 that stopped Larry Holmes' run at Marciano's record. It was believed that Tyson psyched his opponents out and they lost before they ever entered the ring, and a fighter that wasn't scared would have a good chance of beating him. That fighter was Buster Douglas, and as a 42-1 underdog, he defied the odds and did the unthinkable. He knocked Mike Tyson out. I disagree with this reasoning because it was more than just confidence that won him that fight. Douglas was an excellent boxer that wilted in the later rounds of his fights due to his lack of conditioning. Before the Tyson fight, his mother had died and an emotional Buster got in shape for the first time in his career. Tyson, on the other hand, was said to be partying more than he was training. It was the perfect storm. I would also like to add that Jesse Ferguson, one of his sparring partners, told us in person that Tyson was ready to lose. He said that in a normal training camp, Tyson was constantly sending the guys in and out of the hospital, and so far, no one has gotten hurt. He also said that Greg Page had knocked Tyson down sparring, which never happens. He did go on to say, "Don't get me wrong, Tyson won't lose to Douglas, but he's ready to lose." I trained in Cus D'Amato's gym in the early 90s and remember sitting with Rooney and watching a tape of Tyson's first fight with Bruno. What looked like a typical annihilation to the rest of us didn't look so to Rooney. He picked apart Mike's technique. "Look, he's not jabbing. He's not moving his head." Kevin saw, before anyone else, Tyson's greatest asset was gone, his work ethic. By the time Tyson fought the next guy that wasn't scared, it was 1996 against Evander Holyfield. This was 8 years after his split with Rooney. Tyson came off 4 years of inactivity, and the 15 months leading up to the fight, he had 4 fights, winning all by knockout. In 5 years and 5 months, he fought a total of 25 minutes before fighting Holyfield. To Evander's credit, he out-hustled and out-muscled Tyson before putting him away in 11. In the rematch, Mike didn't fare any better, and would look like an act of frustration and desperation. He bit Holyfield's ear and got disqualified. A full 5 years later, Tyson would go on to challenge Lennox Lewis for his belt in 2002 and was destroyed with relative ease. This was 14 years after Tyson left Cus D'Amato's gym and Kevin Rooney. The hungry Tyson that bested Lewis sparring 19 years earlier was long gone. Anything after this fight is unnecessary to even comment on. By this time, Tyson was so far removed from his peak that even his biggest detractors don't even acknowledge it. It should be clear to anyone that has followed his career that a post-Rooney Tyson was nowhere near his best. Was his prime a myth? Absolutely not. Mike Tyson has produced some of the most electrifying boxing ever. His dominance captivated the world, and all these years later, no one has come close. And I doubt anyone ever will.